Think Washington state suburbs are still the safe haven of the Pacific Northwest? Think again. Behind the evergreen trees and coffee shop charm, a real estate crisis is quietly unfolding. Prices are crashing. Inventory is exploding. Families who bought at the peak are now trapped underwater. From the shadow of Seattle's tech bubble to once booming bedroom communities east of the Cascades, the dream of suburban stability is crumbling fast. What was once considered a smart escape from city chaos has become a financial trap. Is your neighborhood next? Could that perfect suburban home turn into your biggest financial regret overnight? Stay with us, because today, we're counting down the top 10 Washington state suburbs where real estate is collapsing in 2026. This isn't just a market correction. It's a reckoning that could reshape the entire region for years to come. If you want to stay ahead of the crash and protect your financial future, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss a breakdown like this. And let's dive in. Number 10. Sammamish. Sammamish, the pristine east side suburb perched on a plateau between two lakes, was once the poster child for Seattle's suburban dream. With top-rated schools, sprawling tech-funded estates, and that coveted work-life balance, this city of 67,000 felt untouchable. Families paid premium prices, often $1.3 million or more, for a slice of this manicured paradise. But in 2026, that dream is cracking wide open. Home values have dropped 9% year over year, with median prices falling from $1.35 million to $1.23 million. Inventory has surged 68% as desperate sellers flood the market. Homes that once sold in under 2 weeks now sit for 75 days or longer. The data tells a brutal story. Property taxes have climbed to an average of $1,400 annually. Insurance premiums, driven by wildfire risk in nearby forests, have jumped 45% since 2023, now averaging $3,800 per year. Monthly carrying costs for a median home exceed $7,200, far beyond what most families can sustain. Meanwhile, tech layoffs at Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta have gutted the high-income buyer pool that fueled Sammamish's boom. Why the collapse? Over-reliance on a single industry. When tech prospered, Sammamish soared. But when Silicon Valley's correction hit the Pacific Northwest, the suburb had no safety net. Remote work's decline meant fewer people needed proximity to Redmond and Bellevue campuses, draining demand. For families who stretched to buy in 2021 and 2022, the reality is devastating. Many are underwater, owing more than their homes are worth. Refinancing is impossible. Selling means taking a six-figure loss. And with tech job security evaporating, the risk of foreclosure looms larger every month. Experts predict Sammamish could see an additional 12 to 15% decline by late 2026 if tech hiring doesn't rebound. That's a return to 2019 price levels, erasing nearly 7 years of equity gains. Would you still bet on Sammamish? Tell us in the comments. And don't go anywhere, because 9 more Washington suburbs are facing even worse nightmares. Number 9. Bonney Lake. Bonney Lake, tucked into the foothills of Mount Rainier, was marketed as affordable family living with mountain views. This Pierce County suburb of 24,000 boomed during the pandemic as remote workers fled Tacoma and Seattle, seeking space and value. Homes that once sold for $425,000 in 2020 climbed to $620,000 by 2022. But by 2026, Bonney Lake is drowning in unsold inventory and plummeting prices. Median home values have collapsed 11%, now sitting at $550,000. But the real shock is in the suburb's outer edges, where new construction developments see price cuts of 15–18%. Inventory has ballooned 82% year over year, the highest spike in Pierce County. The numbers don't lie. Days on market have nearly tripled, from 18 days in 2022 to 52 days now. Over 35% of listings show price reductions, many slashed by $40,000 to $70,000. Meanwhile, Property taxes have jumped 22% in 2 years as the county scrambles to fund infrastructure for overbuilt neighborhoods. The biggest culprit? Reckless overbuilding. Developers flooded Bonney Lake with cookie-cutter subdivisions, betting that demand would never end. But when remote work faded and commutes to Tacoma or Seattle became unavoidable again, buyers disappeared. The 45-minute drive to downtown Seattle in light traffic stretches to 90 minutes during rush hour, a deal-breaker for hybrid workers. For young families who bought new construction at the peak, the dream has become a nightmare. HOA fees in new developments run $250, $400 monthly. Utility costs are higher than expected. And resale values are plummeting as more inventory hits the market every week. If current trends hold, analysts warn Bonney Lake could see a total correction of 20–25%, bringing prices back to 2019 levels. That's not just a dip, that's a full-blown collapse. Still, think Bonney Lake is a hidden gem? Drop your thoughts below, because this list is only getting worse from here. Number 8. Marysville. Marysville, the Snohomish County gateway city of $72,000, once represented affordable access to the Seattle metro. With median home prices around $580,000 in early 2025, it attracted first-time buyers and young families priced out of closer-in suburbs. But affordability doesn't matter when nobody's buying. In 2026, Marysville's real estate market is in free fall. Home prices have dropped 10% year over year, with some neighborhoods seeing declines of 13–14%. Inventory has exploded, up 77%, flooding the market with desperate sellers. Average days on market have stretched to 68, and over 40% of listings now feature price cuts. Here's the brutal math. The median home, now $522,000, requires a monthly payment of $3,850 at current 7.2% mortgage rates. But the median household income in Marysville is just $78,000. That means families are spending over 59% of gross income on housing alone, an unsustainable burden that's crushing buyer demand. Why the crash? Location plus economics. Marysville sits 35 miles north of Seattle, a commute that can take 75 minutes or more during peak hours. When remote work was the norm, that didn't matter. But in 2026, employers demand office presence, and Marysville's distance has become a liability. Add in rising gas prices and tolls on I-5, and the hidden costs pile up fast. For families who bought here expecting steady appreciation, reality is harsh. Many face negative equity. Refinancing is out of reach. And the local job market, dominated by retail and light manufacturing, offers limited high-wage opportunities. When Seattle-based incomes disappear, Marysville's economy falters. Experts predict Marysville could see another 10–12% decline before stabilizing, potentially wiping out all gains since 2020. For those banking on home equity to fund retirement or education, that's a devastating blow. Are you watching Marysville collapse from a distance, or are you living it? Let us know below. And buckle in, because 7 more suburbs are facing total meltdown. Number 7. Lacey. Lacey, the Thurston County suburb, neighboring Washington's state capital, Olympia, was supposed to be different. With stable government employment, affordable housing, and proximity to Joint Base Lewis McChord, it seemed insulated from tech volatility. Homes here averaged $485,000 in early 2025, making it one of the last affordable options near I-5. But affordability means nothing when the market is collapsing. By 2026, Lacey's median home price has plunged 12%, now sitting at $427,000. Inventory has surged 73%, and homes languish on market for an average of 61 days. Price cuts are everywhere, with nearly 38% of listings showing reductions of $30,000 to $50,000. The data reveals a market in distress. New construction developments in Lacey's sprawling west side sit half-sold, with builders offering aggressive incentives. free upgrades, closing cost coverage, even mortgage rate buydowns. Yet buyers remain scarce. Why? Because the employment anchor is weakening. State government hiring has frozen amid budget pressures. Defense contractor jobs at JBLM are stagnant. And the promised Olympia boom never materialized. Worse, insurance premiums have spiked 38% due to earthquake risk along the Cascadia subduction zone, a reality more buyers are finally acknowledging. Annual policies now average $2,400, adding hundreds to monthly costs. For military families who bought expecting stability, Lacey has become a trap. PCS, permanent change of station. Orders mean they must sell, often at a loss. For civilian buyers who stretched financially, rising costs and falling values create a vice. Property taxes have climbed 18% in 3 years. HOA fees in newer neighborhoods run $200, $350 monthly. The math simply doesn't work. If current trends persist, Lacey could see a total 18–20% correction from peak prices, erasing 5 years of gains. That's not a soft landing. That's a crash. Think Lacey is still a safe bet? Share your perspective in the comments. We're not done yet. Number 6. Puyallup. The Pierce County city of 43,000, nestled in the shadow of Mount Rainier, was once the darling of Tacoma area commuters. With historic downtown charm, the famous Washington State Fair, and homes priced below Seattle's stratosphere, it attracted families seeking value. Median prices peaked at $595,000 in 2023, but in 2026, Puyallup is facing a reckoning. Home values have crashed 13% year over year, with median prices now at $518,000. Inventory has ballooned 85%, the second highest surge in Western Washington. Days on market average 73, and a staggering 42% of listings show price cuts, many exceeding $60,000. Here's the financial nightmare. A median home now costs $3,125 per month at 7.2% interest, before property taxes, $6,200 annually, and insurance, $2,800 annually. That pushes total monthly costs above $4,600, but Puyallup's median household income is just $82,000. The affordability gap is a chasm. The biggest culprit? Overbuilding in the South Hill area, where developers crammed in thousands of homes during the boom. Now those same neighborhoods are oversupplied and underdemanded. Commute times to Tacoma, 25 minutes, and Seattle, 60+ minutes, have become deal breakers as remote work fades. And environmental concerns are rising. Puyallup sits in a lahar zone, a volcanic mudflow path from Mount Rainier that could be catastrophic in an eruption. For families who bought at the peak, equity is vanishing. Many owe $550,000 or more on homes now worth $520,000 or less. Refinancing is impossible. Selling means a loss. And with tech layoffs rippling through Tacoma's economy, job security is fragile. Experts predict Puyallup could see another 10 to 15% decline before bottoming out, potentially bringing prices back to 2018 levels. That's a 7-year erasure of wealth. If you're finding this eye-opening, hit that subscribe button to discover the nation. These stories don't make the evening news, but they define your financial future. Still bullish on Puyallup? Tell us why in the comments. 5 more suburbs are waiting, and the nightmare deepens. Number 5. Spanaway. Spanaway, the unincorporated Pierce County community of 35,000, was never glamorous. But it was affordable, close to JBLM, and offered space. Homes that sold for $380,000 in 2020 soared to $510,000 by 2022 as desperate buyers searched for anything within reach. In 2026, that desperation has turned to despair. Spanaway's median home price has plummeted 14%, now sitting at $438,000. But the real carnage is in specific neighborhoods, where prices have dropped 18 to 20%. Inventory has exploded 91%, overwhelming the tiny buyer pool. Homes sit for 79 days on average, and over 45% show price cuts. The numbers are brutal. Property crime rates are 58% above the Washington average, scaring away families. Schools consistently rank in the bottom quartile statewide, a non-starter for parents. And infrastructure is crumbling. Roads are potholed, sewers outdated, and many homes still rely on septic systems that require costly maintenance. Why the collapse? Spanaway was always marginal, propped up by buyer desperation during the boom. When that desperation ended, so did demand. The military market that sustained the area is shrinking as service members opt for housing on base or in better neighborhoods. Investment buyers who scooped up rentals are now dumping properties as rental yields collapse and tenant quality deteriorates. For those who bought here thinking they'd ride appreciation to wealth, the reality is crushing. Many are underwater. Banks are tightening lending standards, making it nearly impossible for new buyers to qualify. And with no economic anchor, no major employer, no downtown revitalization, no amenities, there's no reason for Spanaway to recover. Analysts grimly predict a total 20–25% correction from peak, bringing prices back to 2019 or earlier. Some properties could lose $100,000 or more in value. Would you buy in Spanaway today, even at a discount? Let us know. 4 more suburbs remain, and they're the worst of all. Number 4, Lake Stevens. Lake Stevens, the Snohomish County lakeside city of $36,000, was marketed as the perfect blend. Waterfront charm, strong schools, and commutable distance to Seattle and Everett. Homes on the lake commanded $800,000 plus, while off-water properties averaged $625,000 at the 2023 peak. But in 2026, Lake Stevens is sinking fast. Median home prices have crashed 15%, now at $531,000. Waterfront properties, once premium assets, are seeing declines of 18 to 22% as buyers balk at climate risk and insurance costs. Inventory has surged 88%, and days on market average 81, among the longest in Snohomish County. The financial reality is stark. Waterfront insurance now costs $500, $8,000 annually due to flooding and wildfire risk. Property taxes on a median home run $7,800 per year. HOA fees in lakefront communities average $350, $600 monthly. Total monthly costs for a $625,000 home exceed $5,200, pricing out all but the wealthiest buyers. Why the crash? Lake Stevens is too far. The 40-mile commute to Seattle takes 90 minutes in traffic, an unbearable grind for in-office workers. Boeing's ongoing struggles have decimated Everett's aerospace economy, eliminating thousands of high-paying jobs that once sustained Lake Stevens. And the lake itself is now a liability. Algae blooms, water quality issues, and climate-driven low water levels have tarnished its appeal. For families who paid top dollar for lakefront living, the dream is dead. Homes purchased for $750,000 in 2022 now appraise at $600,000 or less. Refinancing is impossible. Selling means absorbing a massive loss. And with interest rates above 7%, monthly payments are crushing household budgets. Experts warn Lake Stevens could see a cumulative 25–28% decline from peak, one of the worst corrections in Washington state. That's generational wealth evaporating overnight. Still see Lake Stevens as paradise, or is the nightmare undeniable? Comment below. 3 more suburbs to go. Number 3, Bremerton. Bremerton, the Kitsap County naval city of 43,000, was supposed to be saved by the ferry. Just an hour's boat ride from Seattle, with home prices 40% below the metro average, it attracted remote workers and military families. Median prices peaked at $485,000 in 2023. By 2026, Bremerton is drowning. Home values have plummeted 16%, now at $407,000. But in struggling neighborhoods like East Bremerton and Minette, declines reach 20–23%. Inventory has exploded 94%, and homes sit unsold for an average of 87 days, with 48% showing price cuts of $50,000 or more. The financial math is devastating. A $407,000 home costs $3,150 monthly at 7.2% interest. Add property taxes, $5,400 annually, insurance, $2,600, and ferry costs for Seattle. Commuters, $360 monthly for a pass. And total monthly costs hit $4,200. But Bremerton's median household income is just $68,000, creating an impossible affordability gap. The biggest problem? The ferry isn't a solution. It's a trap. Service is unreliable, with frequent cancellations due to mechanical issues and staffing shortages. The commute, including drive time and wait time, can stretch to 2.5 hours each way. For hybrid workers required in office 3+ days per week. That's unsustainable. Add Bremerton's deep-rooted issues. Crime rates 72% above the state average, schools ranked among Washington's worst, and a downtown that remains stubbornly blighted, despite decades of revitalization promises. The Naval Shipyard, once an economic anchor, is shedding contractors as defense budgets tighten. For those who bought hoping for gentrification and ferry-fueled growth, the reality is brutal. Many are underwater, foreclosures are rising, and investor interest has vanished entirely. Analysts predict Bremerton could see a total 28–32% correction from peak, potentially bringing prices back to 2017 levels. That's nearly a decade of gains wiped out. Is Bremerton salvageable? Tell us what you think. 2 more suburbs remain, and they're catastrophic. Number 2, Longview. Longview, the Cowlitz County timber town of $38,000, sits 50 miles north of Portland on the Columbia River. Once sustained by logging and paper mills, it became a pandemic-era escape for Portlanders seeking affordability. Homes that sold for $290,000 in 2020 spiked to $425,000 by 2022. In 2026, Longview is collapsing. Median home prices have crashed a staggering 18%, now at $348,000. In some neighborhoods, declines reach 22 to 25%. Inventory has surged 97%, nearly doubling in 1 year. Homes sit unsold for 93 days on average, and over 50% show price reductions, many exceeding $70,000. The economic fundamentals are catastrophic. The timber industry continues its decades-long decline. Weyerhaeuser has scaled back operations, eliminating hundreds of jobs. The paper mill that once employed thousands now runs on skeleton crews. Median household income has stagnated at $56,000, while home costs have vastly outpaced earning power. Infrastructure is crumbling. Schools are underfunded and underperforming. Crime, particularly property crime and drug-related offenses, has surged 48% since 2020. Downtown Longview feels abandoned, with empty storefronts and minimal economic activity. And the promised Portland commuters never materialized. The 50-mile drive crosses state lines, complicating taxes, and traffic on I-5 is nightmarish. For buyers who thought they were getting a bargain, Longview has become a trap. Resale is nearly impossible. Lenders are blacklisting certain neighborhoods due to falling appraisals. And with no job growth on the horizon, there's no path to recovery. Experts grimly forecast a total 30 to 35% decline from peak prices, bringing Longview back to pre-2018 levels. Some properties will lose $120,000 plus in value. For a working-class community, that's devastating. Would you buy in Longview even at rock-bottom prices? Let us know. 1 suburb remains, and it's the worst of all. Number 1, Centralia. And at number 1, the epicenter of Washington's suburban real estate nightmare, Centralia. This Lewis County town of 18,000, located 90 miles south of Seattle on I-5, became an unlikely pandemic boomtown. Desperate buyers, priced out everywhere else, flooded in. Homes that sold for $245,000 in 2019 rocketed to $395,000 by 2022. In 2026, Centralia is in total collapse. Median home prices have plummeted a catastrophic 21% now at $312,000. But in the worst-hit areas, older neighborhoods near the rail yards and industrial zones, Declines reach 26 to 30%. Inventory has exploded 103%, more than doubling. Homes sit unsold for 98 days, and a shocking 54% show price cuts, some slashed by $80,000 or more. The data is apocalyptic. Median household income is just $48,000. A $312,000 home costs $2,450 monthly at 7.2% interest, consuming over 61% of gross income before taxes and insurance. The affordability gap is insurmountable. Poverty rates exceed 22%. Unemployment is 7.8%, nearly double the state average. Why is Centralia number one? Because it has no reason to exist as a residential market. There are no major employers. The lumber and rail industries that once sustained the town are ghosts. The 90-minute commute to Seattle is absurd. Crime is rampant. Rates are 89% above the Washington average. Schools are failing. Downtown is desolate. The pandemic created artificial demand from buyers with nowhere else to go. Now that desperation has evaporated, so has the market. Investors who bought rental properties are hemorrhaging cash as tenants default or vanish. Foreclosures are rising at the fastest rate in Washington state. Banks won't touch Centralia mortgages without massive down payments. For those who bought at the peak, the nightmare is inescapable. They're underwater by $50,000, $80,000, even $100,000. Selling is impossible. There are no buyers. Refinancing is off the table. Walking away and accepting foreclosure is becoming the only option for many. Experts predict Centralia could see a cumulative 35 to 40% decline from peak prices, a correction so severe it rivals the worst of the 2008 crash. Homes purchased for $395,000 could bottom at $240,000 or lower. That's not just a loss. That's financial obliteration. Centralia is the cautionary tale, the warning sign, the nightmare made real. It's what happens when speculation replaces fundamentals, when desperation fuels buying, and when a market has no economic foundation to sustain it. Would anyone buy in Centralia today? The answer is devastatingly clear: no. Across Washington state, a quiet devastation is unfolding. From Sammamish's tech-dependent collapse to Centralia's total meltdown, the pattern is unmistakable. Suburbs that boomed on pandemic-era speculation are now paying the price. Overbuilding, job losses, and affordability crises have converged into a perfect storm. The lesson is clear. Location isn't everything when the economic foundation crumbles. These suburbs attracted buyers desperate for space, affordability, or proximity. But when remote work ended, tech crashed, and interest rates soared, demand vanished. What's left are underwater homeowners, empty neighborhoods, and falling prices that show no signs of stabilizing. Some suburbs will eventually recover, but others, places like Centralia, Longview, and Bremerton, may never return to peak prices. For those who bought at the top, the financial and emotional toll will last years, perhaps decades. The suburban dream has become a suburban nightmare, and Washington state's real estate reckoning is only just beginning. You've been watching Discover the Nation, your home for cinematic deep dives into America's biggest transformations. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with anyone who needs to see the truth about Washington's crashing suburbs. Because what's happening today in these communities is just the beginning of a larger shift that will reshape housing market.